Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Simon and we are the Whales of Wall Street. Today we're going to be looking at one of mine and Steve's favourite bags, which is Vechain, and that is VET if you're looking for it on any of the exchanges. And we're going to go do a bit of a deep dive into what it's about, why we're so bullish on it, and towards the end we'll do a bit of a price analysis and chart analysis as well. So without further ado, I'm going to get rid of myself just so you can see the screen fully. And there we go. Cool. So Vechain being like Chinese based, but they do have global offices now. These guys actually, I will actually state this, that the reason I came about Vechain originally was through another channel called Cheeky Crypto. Go check those guys out. They are awesome. Helped me out massively last year on my path to doing the channel and also looking into awesome things like this. So really appreciate their help on that. And basically Vechain is kind of like blockchain basically for products and legitimacy checking as well, which we'll go into more detail in a second. Don't ask me what all this says. A lot of this time I'm assuming it's that, but we'll go through a couple of the solutions as well, case studies, as well as the tokenomics also. And in fact, on that point, let's go straight into that. So before we go into the price analysis and everything at the end, just to be clear, so Vechain is basically made up essentially of two aspects. So you've got the VET token, which is obviously the utility asset, and then you've got the VeThor token as well, which is more for the energy and gas, and we will go into that in a second. But just to be clear, I was making sure that everyone knew the difference of those two things. You can actually trade both of them, but we will mention as well in the tokenomics aspect of how you can get V4 tokens essentially for free by just general saving or staking methods. So we will come back to that shortly. Now, the VET token is used for generating the V4 token, which we will mention soon, distribution of the network, and storing and transfer value. The VeThor side of things is the energy and gas used for the blockchain to help with the transactions or obtaining the transaction fees, reducing them, etc. And when a transaction is done on the Vechain Thor blockchain, 70% of the transactions of V4 get destroyed, 30% go to the authority nodes, the people behind making the things happen. So in terms of the tokenomics as well of that, if we're talking about supply and demand, of course, as businesses and partnerships build with Vechain, we expect the VeThor price to be more in demand and essentially a rise in price. But actually, with the mechanism that these guys have got in place with proof of authority and things like that, there is no real issue with the supply reduction, because Vechain, or the foundation, they call it the Vechain Foundation, and the steering center, which is within their portfolio as well, they basically adjust the variables on a live situation and reduce the minimum amount of VeThor that is needed per transaction. So essentially reducing the gas fees and increasing the generation rate of the V4 via using the VET token, as I mentioned, with the staking and other opportunities. So obviously that's kind of like bringing an equilibrium aspect to it and a stable relativity in terms of price, demand and supply as well. So the overall transaction costs will be stable and essentially lower than most of the competitors out there. So obviously been a lot of news recently about Ethereum costs and things like that, as well as other chains being relatively expensive. So hopefully that helps. And because of the staking aspect of getting VeThor through VET, I think over 35 million V4 tokens are made each day. So the supply can continue, provided people are still interested in VET and continue to support the platform with that kind of staking or proof of authority aspect as well. So let's go back to the full conversation of the Vechain project. So predominantly their main focus is in supply chain. Okay, so around 2018 they moved away from the Ethereum platform and created their own chain, which is what we're talking about now. and originally sort of around the proof of work consensus protocol, which was of course easier for validators but versus old mechanisms. But these guys have brought out their proof of authority, and in particular proof of authority 2.0 quite recently, and they are essentially generating this and improving this along the year and the years to come. So this will help with things like keeping everything safe. I think it's called the finality absolution is what they call it. Helps with scalability, and it's essentially better than proof of work, i.e. through like the miners and proof of staking as well. So this will really generate a new kind of system for blockchains in general, and cryptocurrency in general as well. So it's kind of helping to lead the way in that aspect. But going back to some of these kind of like solutions that Vechain have, they have multitude of them. I'm going to pick out a few, but in general, these guys are essentially using smart contracts and data within blockchain technology to help with any kind of supply chain format or any variability or validation of products and services. What I mean by that is, for example, if you're buying a food product or a drink, let's say wine, there is a whole supply chain mechanism to that product. And as we become more sort of what would be the word, aware of the aspects of sustainability and things like that, of the awareness of where products come from, has it been fair trade, have the people who have made the produce, being rewarded in a good fashion, as well as the logistical day of sustainability. There's a lot of like veganism topics at the moment, and in general people's awareness and concern towards their impact to emissions and CO2, part of climate change of course, and Agenda 30 programs as well. So there's loads of elements to why that's important, but we will go into a bit more detail on how that works with Vechain and all of these aspects as well. So these guys are essentially creating quality certification blockchain algorithm to help with these kind of things, involving things like IoT chips. So there's no copying, there's no fraudulent activity, money laundering, or any aspect of interference with a product or service in between the point of manufacturing and getting to the customer's hands at the end of it. So like you and I buying a product on whatever platform it is or wherever it's from, and having this mechanism in place to be able to scan it and find out exactly its journey and decide actually whether this is a good product for me to be buying or not because of emissions or thought process and this, that and the other. But it also works in the other way around, which we'll go into in a second as well, of how it helps brands. But going back to this as well, apologies for all the waffling and moving about here on the pages, but there's so much detail with Vechain, and this is why I'm so interested in it. So hopefully we cover loads of topics in this video and you have more of an understanding of the actual magnitude of these opportunities. So let's go into a couple of these ideas here. So for example, with cars, so if you think about the production, the manufacturing, the sale mechanism of cars, the repair life cycle, the ownership, etc. Imagine having all of this information and data within one suitable area of accessibility. So we're talking about like the IoT chips or a blockchain definition to be able to see the detail of the product, in this case a car, the ownership detail, the repairing detail, the detail of where it's come from, manufactured, the quality, the materials, everything you could possibly want to know. And from an insurance perspective, and even on a used car market perspective, having all that data without having to spend research, etc., or finding out details, admin costs, etc., labor costs will reduce because of this kind of solution and technology. So it's really interesting aspects of this kind of technology coming to play. So that's kind of an overview of how it would work with the cars. Do check this website out, by the way, from Vechain. There's loads of information on how they utilize the platforms for all of these different sectors. I'm just trying to give you the top line information. So Vechain ID could arguably be a difference of when you have like the VIN numbers on your windscreen, but in more of a digital IoT format where it's all on one structured platform, easily accessible, no messing about with any of the data, etc. Because there's a lot of on the black market, for example, there's a lot of bad cars out there that have perhaps been misused, or the accelerometer and things have been adjusted. You don't know as a consumer what goes on in the background with some of the garages or sell units of where you buy your cars from. So it kind of eradicates all of those kind of problems. So this is very much solution based. This is where the value is of Vechain's platform and usability. And then you've got other things like logistics on here. So logistics is more about the real-time location of your products and services across the board. This is more like enterprise, really, not so much for the consumer, albeit that you could still find out where something's come from, where it is, blah, blah, blah. Helps with the reduce of risk control, labor cost reduction, efficiency of supply chain. I live near the coast, and there's so many freights and shipping carriers at the moment, half empty or completely empty, because of the logistic nightmare of everything that's got. And it needs a better automated system and a better tracking system and things like this, I feel, to go to that sort of next level, and be more in line with the agenda programs, with the sustainability programs. You imagine all these ships going around the world half empty or a small percentage full. It's really not good for the emissions or the environment, and it's certainly not good for consumer confidence in terms of delays, supply chain problems, and things like that. So it is very much a problem for the world that Vechain is trying to produce solutions for. There's other things here like agriculture. So again, it's sort of tying in the similar sort of aspects to these solutions. So you've got agriculture in the sense that helping with like regulation, helping with the IoT infrastructures. I have done videos on this in the past with AI and IoT involving agriculture, where things will become more automated: harvesting, growing, seeding, supply chain logistics, all of this sort of stuff. And again, leading back to that customer confidence. Where has my produce come from? Where has this carrot come from? Is it sustainable? Is it environmentally friendly? And the consumer behavior then goes back to data of the brands or the manufacturers or the producers to obtain that data of buyer behavior, their buying patterns, but also information data retrieval of customers' feedback in more of a data friendly perspective, which will help the brands with their research and developing better products, better materials, better produce, and improve their infrastructure as they go forward as well. So that's kind of like a few top line solution cases there. As I mentioned, do check out the website. It's really informative of going into even deeper detail of these aspects. Hopefully we're not boring you, because there is so much here. But yeah, in terms of the roadmap, it's not just supply chain focused that they're looking to get into. We have got other sectors such as NFTs and gaming. The gaming I'll pull up right now while we've got it on the screen here. So that's they own basically the player token. They haven't done much with it. I'm not sure what it's going to do. I do have quite a big bag of this because it was so cheap, and I'm just holding it for the future, just in case they change their mind or decide to actually utilize it in the gaming element, for tournaments, content creation, and things like that. There's a lot of gaming esports opportunities with this token. Do go check it out, do some research, see what you think. But I'm really excited to see how Vechain will use Player in their future sort of gaming and NFT aspects as well. And on that topic of NFTs, this is a big adoption for them moving forwards. This will develop things like the dApps as well, and other elements too. So obviously NFTs being a massive part of a lot of blockchains in the last few the last few months, and the last year, of that, again, proof of authentication, the confirmation, ownership proof, its fast, cheap, secure transaction element is really important here, because a lot of the NFT platforms are on Ethereum, for example, and there's a lot of gas fees involved, transaction fees. Utilizing things like the new NFT or ENFT aspects like Vechain are trying to provide will help creators, developers use a cheaper and better platform to obtain and create their NFT options to the end user and customers. And as well, it does get covered as well by VIP 181, which is their internal sort of standardization project. It basically what they've created for NFT standardization. So you've got recognition there that they have done their due diligence in the background to make sure that everything's safe, secure, fair, open, and very efficient for those that want to use that aspect of everything as well. So that's a relative overview of some of the solutions that they provide. It is really an exciting opportunity with Vechain. Toolchain as well is basically a service platform. It's similar to like what I've mentioned yesterday's video, B Pro. Allowing a service opportunity, I think, is really important for a lot of companies out there. They don't necessarily want to do the work themselves, but they're happy for a company to provide that solution for them. And that is what Vechain do with this toolchain mechanism, which I think is really important. So again, about product lifestyle cycle management, the branding data that they can get, and as well as on the customer end, what data you can get as an end user to make sure it's sustainable, to make sure you're confident in the brand, the products that you're buying. So there's loads of really cool aspects to that. And as we mentioned just a minute ago as well, POA 2.0, so that is in fruition with those guys now. They will continue to improve it as time goes on. But this is really the next sort of level after proof of work, after proof of staking, to be more efficient, to be more cost effective. And these guys are really trying to lead in that aspect, and do expect to see more and more information and more news about POA as we move forward with the life cycle of crypto and blockchain technology in general. So hopefully that's been a relatively good overview for you guys. Apologies for a lot of waffling and a lot of technical aspects there, but I just thought it was important to try and squeeze in as much as possible. Like I said, do your own research. Obviously I can't do a massive video of Vechain in every intricate detail, but hopefully it's given you enough to sort of expand the ideas within your minds as well, to do your own research, to look into the project more and see why we're so excited about it as well. Just from my perspective, like I do have experience in sort of supply and logistical management from my existing sort of work roles and things like that. This is why I think it's important for this kind of mechanism to be put in place to help with the efficiency, reduce the costs of logistics in general for both the supplier, the courier, and of course the vendors that will be using these products. And ultimately that price gets passed on to the end user customers as well. So we could see a whole new ecosystem around the world that actually benefits the economy and benefits everyone's infrastructure of finance as well. Other things to mention: do keep an eye on their Twitter. There's always some really cool stuff on here that they keep announcing every now and then. They are usually sort of very active when there's an update, not so much from a branding aspect on a daily basis. Just keep that in mind, but there's some really cool active stuff that they're doing across the board, and especially here where you've got things like information about the NFT platforms and the toolchain management as well. So now we've covered most of that, I just want to jump straight into the chart here. So at the moment we're tracking just under 10 cents, which is actually fantastic. I've mentioned this a few videos now. The V shape looks slightly different on each crypto asset. That's quite normal, but you can see the V development here, and I think we will see a bit of stabilization before I do generally believe that we will start raising those prices on across the market as well. But for me, Vechain is a long time hold. Personally, I got in early towards the beginning of the year when it was something silly like 2 cents, maybe 1 cent, and we saw significant growth to around, I think around the sort of 28 to 30 cent mark, which was, I believe, around April time, April, May time. Yeah, remember it well now. And of course we had the shoot down, which is natural corrections for the markets in general. But we do like to see the support level. Hopefully we can reach that 10 cents soon. And then I think it will be a bit of instability for a while we sort of test that support line, whether we drop back down to the 8 or we start rising maybe towards the next level of 12 to 13 cents. So yes, I do anticipate a price essentially of maybe between 87 cents and $1 in the next cycle. I would like to see it go a bit higher than the dollar, of course, to try and test those kind of support lines. But let's see how we go first in the next few weeks. I will do a bit more of an analysis on the price side of things as we move forwards. But yeah, I'm very confident that we could easily try and get that dollar mark. Obviously none of this is financial advice, it's just the opinion and based on data and research that I've been looking into personally. But let's hopefully get that there. And also just to mention, it is available on a few exchanges, Binance being one of them, which of course got up here. But also from the tokenomics aspect, I did mention earlier in the video to explain that a bit more. So you can get the V4 token, you can actually purchase that and trade that individually, but you can also obtain it for free just simply by holding Vechain in your earn aspect of Binance, or other platforms have something similar, or the staking aspect as well. So do get involved in that, because you can obtain the V4 token quite easily. And as we mentioned earlier with the tokenomics and how that works, of course, as partnerships keep developing and Vechain gets more popular, and as the V4 token is more in demand, you guys will have more and more of it available to you that you can use, obviously potential trades or things like that, or hold it by for a rainy day kind of thing. There's two opportunities with this product and platform. That's the beauty of it. It's 2 for 1. So you get really good opportunities out of both those ideas and opportunities. So do take a look at that. Again, not financial advice, but is something worthwhile to think about in particular as well on that aspect. So hopefully guys, you have found this relatively informative. Sorry it's been a bit of a long video, but as I said, there's a lot to get through, and hopefully it's given you some top line info that you can then go and do your own research and find out a bit more. Let us know in the comments below if you're invested in Vechain. And let us know as well what you think of the project. What's your price prediction as well? Let us know. We always reply to every single comment. It's one of the fun things that we like to do here when we have time. And let us know what you think. Are you positive about Vechain? What things concern you about Vechain? And also any of their competitors. Let us know if you want to do a video on those as well. We are more than happy to oblige to doing that. So please do like and subscribe the video. And the channel, it really helps us out. We're trying to push for the 500, and of course eventually the next milestone of 1,000, we can start doing things like live chat and other awesome stuff with you. But other than that guys, I hope you found this interesting, and we will see you and Vechain and V4 on the moon. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Vechain to the moon and V4.